Don't fuck it up.
All right, we're gonna try and take a quick picture. Okay, it's not working. Okay, so this is the absolute most important slide. This is relax, don't worry, have a home brew. And this is really important because brewing is supposed to be fun. It is not that hard, and it's not technical. So just do it, and then drink it. Okay, so what is beer? Beer is 4 ingredients, at least it should be. It should be water, barley, malted barley, same thing, hops, and yeast. And there's actually the German beer purity law, which was in 1516, called the Reinheitsgebot. Anyway, we're moving on. So this is the grain. This is kind of like the base of all beer, and it goes from really light to really dark. And it's actually almost always the same grain. It's just how much they roast it, kind of like coffee. So, ooh, and I got a head. All right, so then there's hops. This is what gives it the bitter, and it was actually originally added to actually let it preserve longer so they could cross the oceans and stuff. It grows like this on a big vine, and then it looks like this when they make it into little pellets like rabbit food, but you should not eat this. And then the other ingredient besides water is yeast, and this is the best picture of yeast I could find, but you know what yeast is. It eats the sugar and farts out CO2 and alcohol. So let's go yeast. All right, so there's like a billion kinds of beer. The main 2 categories are lagers and ales. And the only difference really is that ale yeast ferments at the top and lager yeast ferments at the bottom. And the key thing here is like the different varieties, damn it. So extract brewing is, there's basically 2 kinds of brewing. Extract is kind of weak, any extract brewers here. You take water and boil it and add this goop and then put some yeast and some hops in it and you call that beer. It is the Campbell's soup. This is all grain and there's 20 slides so we had to do this one because extract was already done. This is what I do, this is what you should do. You take grain and you make it into beer. I didn't practice. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your grain and you're gonna mash it, or I'm sorry, mill it. That is the wrong word. You're gonna mill it, and you're not actually making like a flour, you're just breaking it open so that you can get the sugars later. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a big bucket like this, and you're gonna have a little manifold so that like water can drain through, but not your gross mash that you just mixed up, and you're gonna add a bunch of water, and you're gonna let it sit for an hour, and all the starch inside the grain is gonna turn into sugar, and then you're gonna drain it, and you can drink that, and it's delicious. But yeah, you're gonna drain it, and then as it's draining, you're gonna add new fresh water on top to kind of push more of the sugar through. This is called the wort. The sweet wort, I think, is the technical term. And yeah, it's basically beer that's not alcoholic or carbonated. Then you're gonna boil it. You're gonna boil it for about an hour. And this is called like bitterness, is the hops. There's 2 kinds you're gonna use. The hops you put in at the beginning of the 60 minutes is gonna add bitterness. And the hops you add at the end are for aroma. So if you're having the surly right now, the Furious has a whole lot of aroma because you can smell it. It's really, I love it. Okay, so the last thing whatever. One thing you're gonna do is you're gonna sanitize like everything. This is the only thing that's important, is that we use Be Bright. It's just like an oxidizer. Once it turns into beer, anything that lives in it can't actually kill you, but like right now it could kill you if it got in there. So like, and then after it's been boiled for an hour, you're gonna chill it. This is actually hooked up to like a sink, and then cold water comes in one side and goes through a little spiral and then comes out the other side. Most people just like put ice in a sink and then put their tub in that. And then you're gonna ferment it, and this is the primary, and what it's doing right now is the yeast is eating the sugar. This is a little bubbler that lets CO2 out, but not oxygen in, because the bad stuff wants the oxygen, and this is like a week long. You're gonna wait a week, and then you're gonna switch to a secondary. This is kind of optional, but I do it. And what it's doing here is you take it off of all the dead yeast, and you put it in a new container, and this is really cool to do in glass, because then you can see it like clearing. And this is letting it like kind of clear out and, all right. So then that's another week. In that week, you're gonna brew another beer and you're gonna buy way more equipment. And if my wife is watching, I want that. Okay, so then it's been a week in the primary, a week in the secondary. You're gonna bottle it or keg it. If you keg it, you throw it in the keg and you see what, pressurize it. If you bottle it, you have to fill up like 100 bottles. So keg it. Also, if you keg it, it's ready in a week. If you bottle it, it's like at least 2 weeks. Okay, and the last slide, invite your friends over. Because I only needed 19 slides. But you're gonna need those kegs and bottles back. So invite people over and they will drink it. And then you can brew more. And I didn't say fuck.